When we talk about making meaningful progress and having these value-driven strategies and stories and these methods that can really help uphold the values, I think underneath it all, it's important that we acknowledge that there is a sense of morality, there's a sense of humanity that we all share, in that we understand that there is a right and there is a wrong. We understand that there is a good way, an honorable and integrous way of leading life, and then there's a way that is not. So as important as it is for us to recognize that and say it out loud, I do think it's equally important to say that although we all have that inner compass, so to speak, we all also live against it at times. Like, we want to do what's right, but inevitably, sometimes when we're put in a pinch or when we're back up against the wall, we're prone to make the wrong decision. Maybe because it's because of selfish ambition or things that we want for ourselves, or sometimes it can be for somebody else, like lying for somebody or covering up something for somebody. But the point is, even when we do that, we understand that we're living against some kind of inner compass and knowing that we have, that there is a code to this life. There's something that we should treat each other with integrity. We should treat each other with honesty and respect. There is this knowledge and this kind of level playing field. So I want to bring that up because today I want the topic of this to be mere values equal meaningful progress. And the reason why I say mere values is because, when we talk about values, it can seem so basic. Like, they're just so mundane. They're just so basic. And like, everybody knows that. Why do we have to talk about it? But the truth is that values are so inherent and they're so important to the fulfillment of our lives and to the success and excellence that we're able to keep, that we need to be talking about it. If not regularly, every day, like, we must be reminding ourselves about it. Like, for myself, I'm a very value-driven person, but I have made an intention to basically show my goals and my values right in front of me. Like, I have them in my bathroom, like framed, so that every day I'm able to just glance at what my values are, what my goals are, and just to remind myself, like, this is the road I'm choosing, come hell or high water. Like, this is the way that I want to live and lead in my life. And so although values can seem mere, they are crucial to meaningful progress. And I mean that in the realest sense that I could possibly say it. So I'm setting the tone in this vlog, or however you're, digesting this information, setting it up as acknowledging that, values can be viewed as just minor, basic, don't really need to be talked about, but they are the absolute key to meaningful progress. Mere values lead to meaningful progress. And, we do live in a very divided world. We live in a world where division exists really at every corner, in every front, and sometimes on our door front or in our own homes, there can be this tension and division of ideas. But much of those divisions stem from fringe topics or things that are not foundational. And so what bringing it back to values does is that it takes our focus off of the fringe information, maybe the headline news and all that, but it brings us back to what do we all value together and how can we put that at the forefront of our mind. Because when we do that, it levels the playing field. So it's not a hierarchical thing. We are all here. We all want to live and abide by these things. We all want to uphold and see these values not only in our own life, but around us as well. So it levels that playing field. Also, it brings us to the center of our shared humanity. So you can think of it as leveling the playing field, but you can also think of it as like the center in the nucleus of humanity, that these values, that they bring us together and really are a tether that pull us back. Even when we get mad at each other, even when we disagree on certain things, we're able to say, okay, well, what's at the center of all of this? And what do we want to accomplish all together in this? So it's a centerpiece, it's a foundation, however you want to interpret it, or kind of build that mental image for yourself to understand it. I think both work beautifully. So the purpose of this, I don't want to go into the fringe topics, and I will do my absolute best not to do that, as I always intend to do if I do teachings, because I don't want to be there. I don't want to live there. I don't want to teach there. I don't want to train there. I want to bring everyone back to the center, bring everyone back to the foundation. First of all, I'm not going to talk about the fringe because more than likely I'm not an expert on any of those things. And so you're not going to hear me going on about them. And it highlights what divides us. Also, it distracts us from what's foundational. And so my goal is to actually limit the distractions that we have, so that when we come back to this sense of value and this foundational ideas that we share together, that it can be the launching pad for growth, for not just camaraderie but collaboration, but also that camaraderie to say we're in this thing together. Like we're gonna get through this some way or another. The core message here in Mere Values or Meaningful Progress is that this is the bedrock of our purpose, and really the bedrock of civilization. When we talk about values, it's that foundational thing. It's independent of whatever position you might have, what pay you might get, what religion you are, what personality type you might have, or experiences that you might have with other people. It goes really beyond all of that, or should I say lower and more foundational than all of those things. The caution and the danger that we have when we water down values or don't talk about them is that we lose sight of what matters most, not just in our own lives, but to the people around us and that we love. And even if the values seem basic or lowly, if we dig for truth and sustainability and meaning, we're always going to hit those values. It's like the bedrock beneath it all. And we get to a place where we say, all right, we can build on this. It's not too mushy. It's not on the fringe. It's solid, and we can build on these things. I have this saying that I really just came into my mind. And so I thought it was cute. It's kind of, I love a little alliteration, but it's this: when you show me your values, you show me your vision. So if somebody is able to tell me what their values are, or if an organization is able to tell me what their values truly are, and I don't mean like they're just on the pamphlet or they're just on the wall in the offices, like these are their true values. They talk about them, they really integrate them into their onboarding and maybe into their offboarding, but it's really a part of who they are. So if you show me your values, whether personal or organizational, what you're doing is you're showing me your vision. You're showing me the filter through which you see the world. You're showing me the filter and the lens through which you see the people and the coworkers that you work with, the boss and your overseers, or maybe the people that work for you or serve on your team. Your values will tell me how you see them. So when we talk about organizational values, listen, an organization, right? If it's brick and mortar, or if it's just the idea of an org chart on a piece of paper, that cannot in and of itself body values. So when we talk about org values or organization values or team values, what we're talking about is values that team, that those humans actually embody and carry, that it's their filter through which they see their clients, they see their family, they see their friends, they see their coworkers. It's the vision. So whatever your values are is your filter. If you're like, oh my God, I've never even written down or thought about what maybe my top values are. Well, of course there's hundreds of values, if not thousands, that we could lean into, adhere to, be reminded of. But it is important that maybe you pick 3 or 4, maybe 5, that you say, you know what, these are most important to me. And I really think of those values and the habits that those look like in real life. Those are a tether. Did you ever play tetherball? When you were in school growing up? I mean, I did. Or there's a little tetherball place that I've played with my kids in the past that they have just out in town. And so I would go and play tetherball with them. But tetherball is fun because you throw that ball around and it goes round and round. And it can go every which way. But it has this rope. Sometimes it has some give. Sometimes it doesn't. But it has a rope that's tethered to the pole. So you can hit that dang ball as hard as you want. But guess what? It is anchored in the center. There were times where I have seen once or twice somebody hit that ball so hard and that rope was so old and worn that ball just flew off. You know what I mean? And that happens if we think about it too. But the tether, what holds us to center, is those actions that keep us tied into the core values that we want to embody and that we want to have. So those values and what they look like are the tether that keep us anchored. They keep us anchored so that when the challenges come, when the problems come, when crisis arises out of nowhere, like we're tethered. No, we have an inner compass. We have something that draws us back even together, and we hang on to that. So show me your values and you show me your vision for life, people, pain, hard work, etc. Results versus values. Society and most organizations, and I say a lot of leaders as well, individually celebrate results much more than somebody embodying values on a day-to-day. But the values, those who truly live their life this way, know the reward of life is in life itself. So the results are great, but what you're going to remember is the entire process. And values bring us to the present moment. It allows us to go, who do I want to be? Who do we want to be as a team in this life right now, in the situation that we are in? And so it allows us to live meaningfully in everything that we engage with, in the conversations, the relationships, the tasks, everything like that. Sometimes I think of values as the marrow of life. So they are just the core of our skeleton and bones. They're foundational in not just life in organizations, but to how we're living, how we're able to stand up. And that's what values provide, is those convictions of steel that say, I can walk upright, I can do the right thing even when it's hard. Without values, we run the risk of people really getting bored, all right, with the tasks of work and life. So values bring meaning and sharpness. If we get dull, we're not going to have as good of reaction time. If we get dull and bored, we're not going to have creative ideas as much. So what values do is they keep us leaning in, and the benefits are astronomical. I mean, if we lean into values, we're going to be more creative. If we lean into our values, we're going to be more resilient. If we lean into our values, we're going to collaborate more because we see the value in the whole. And so when we lean into our values, it really just levels every single thing up. When we don't live with values, some of the things that can hinder us is we can become blinded by our impulsiveness, all right, to do the wrong thing. And so if you don't have a strong conviction of values, you're likely to be impulsive and give in to those quick temptations that may say, oh, it's okay to let that thing slide this time. When if you had really strong values, you wouldn't just let that slide. You would address it. You would make sure that health is the priority instead of comfort or passivity or what have you. When people live without values, is the third thing, is we live without a why. And without a why, as so many great authors and teachers have told us, without a why, we lose our way. We get lost, we lose our purpose, we lose our drive. So leaning into that why is going to invigorate us in every single area of life and in every single task, project, or thing that we need to take on and engage within the day. I do want to talk about really quick some of the misconceptions about values and just bring some clarity. So sometimes people think if somebody lives with values that it's an attitude. So if you have values, you're going to see it in an attitude. And although having values may result in a change of attitude or a different attitude or a more positive attitude, I do believe that is a byproduct a lot of the time. But values, when we're talking about them in this sense, we're talking about the noun. We're talking about a truth that is not based on feeling or the potential within something. A value is something that is real and that should exist as a person, place, thing, or idea. It is almost tangible, pretty much. It can be seen. There's evidence of it, so to speak. And so when we talk about values, we're talking about something that is very concrete, all right? that is true. So take, like, let's take bravery or maybe courage, for example. The Merriam-Webster's dictionary describes the noun of bravery as one with mental or moral strength, okay, to face danger, fear, or difficulty. They are able to face fear, danger, or difficulty, not because they can, or not because they're just risk takers. They can do that because of their mental moral strength to do the right thing. When we talk about moral strength, we're talking about doing the right thing. So is a bungee jumper courageous? They could be brave, or are they really brave? I think they're not. I think they're adventurous. There's some things when a person does what is morally right in secret, despite potentially being rewarded for doing what is morally wrong in public. I mean, a lot of times, and in a lot of companies and in a lot of friend circles, someone will get a pat on the back for basically doing the wrong moral thing. All right. Now that is it's sad, but that is a very common issue. Now, that person is not brave because they're not doing what is morally right. What should be celebrated more is someone who is able to do the right thing in secret, even though they would be potentially rewarded for lying publicly. And so what that does for us is it says there is a clear vision of what a value is and what a value is not. So defining those boundaries of the scope of that value is defining and clarifying, this is what it looks like in action. This is what this value looks like when you're up against the wall. This is what this value looks like as far as this is what it could cost me, and I'm willing to pay for this value, whatever that is. There's wisdom from the past that really all leans us into this idea of the benefits of living with values. Aristotle spoke and wrote on courage, and I love what he said, because he said true courage is facing what must be faced at the right time for the right reason. True courage, is facing what must be faced, but listen to the qualifiers here, must be faced at the right time and for the right reason. So again, values are really nodding and have this understanding that there is a code and there is a way that we should respect, honor, live in this world and with other people. Charles Spurgeon said, "The strong are not always vigorous, and the brave are not always courageous." In other words, as I mentioned at the beginning, none of us are perfect. What these values are, again, are a tether, and they are something that naturally we are drawn to. We want to receive from people who are value driven and who have values, who are integrity. I don't want to be in partnership with somebody who has no integrity. Are you kidding me? Nobody wants to do that. Why? Because they could very easily betray you. We all want to be in partnership or working with people or linked up with people in friendship or whatever way that have a sense of integrity. And the truth of the matter is that we attract who and what we are. And Gallup has lots of studies done where they ask employees, how important is it for you to work for a company that your values align? Where your values not align with the people in that company's values. So the managers, the C-suite, like that, you look at them and you look at how they lead, not just the words in the pamphlet, but how they're actually acting out their values. And you go, I can align with that. I can trust that. I can link arms with that. But we're not always that way. And so it's important that we make room in some way to say, you know what happens when we mess up? What happens when someone, veers outside of that boundary or that standard that we have set? Being brave once doesn't guarantee being brave always. Like, you might have had great integrity in one season of life, and you might tell people, no, I live up to high standards of integrity. But right now, if you're really to examine and take a survey with yourself and say, am I still living up to those values? Some of us might go, you know what, I'm not. And what this moment can be is, again, that tether, that pull, that tug to say, hey, let's come back into alignment. Hey, let's come back to center. Let's come back to the foundation. Bravery without morality. So just taking that case study of bravery real quick. Bravery without a moral compass at best is like reckless adventure, okay? At worst, it's dangerous and vile. So true bravery, the noun, the value of bravery, encompasses that we have this knowledge and this meaning to say we're doing the right thing at the right time and for the right reasons. And so there's a lot more to every value. And I think as we walk through this, that's what I realize more and more, is to talk about values on the surface is fine and good. But if we really want to get to the marrow, we really want to get to the juju that says we can find a source of motivation, creativity in this, we've got to dig deep. We've got to talk about how big of an idea it is, how real it is. It's not just words on a paper, it's in action. Values lead to virtue. Values lead to virtue. And I just want to end on this. Like, if you do not desire to be a leader and a person who lives according to high standards, you are not going to enjoy these conversations. But if you are a person who says, I want to lean into my values, I want to live a virtuous life, because you see the benefit, not just in the results, but in the day-to-day. In the day-to-day fulfillment, in the day-to-day success, in the day-to-day longevity, in the day-to-day legacy that we leave, that there is a value in that. And if that's you, if that speaks to you, then I really think you're going to be encouraged by this. You're going to be armed up to really embrace some values in maybe a different way than you've ever embraced them before. So thank you for giving me your time. I hope you will continue to engage and listen to the next series of talks and focuses that I take on values, meaningful progress. Though our values may be mere, they do result in meaningful progress when we live them out. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.